Right now, I'm in the Santa Clarita Valley, and today we're going to be focusing on the city of Saugus, California. That's because the 1990 Christian Slater movie, Pump Up the Volume, was filmed right here in Saugus. Now, to be honest, I'm not sure how many locations we're going to be able to find because all of those scenes with Mark in his bedroom doing his radio show and all of the scenes with his listeners in their bedroom listening to the radio show, all of that was filmed on sets, and then pretty much the rest of the movie was filmed right here at Saugus High School. But I'm sure we'll be able to track down some locations, so if you're ready to explore, let's go see what we can find. Probably one of the most noticeable things in that scene besides the bus is this wall over here in this section of park across the street, but it's not too noticeable anymore. The trees kind of block it and it just blends in now. The bus would have made a right turn off of Scallion Drive and pulled up and parked right here. This wall and this tree can be seen, but the tree was a lot smaller back then. Now the bus was parked over there across the street, but when the kids are getting on the bus, it's now for some reason parked right here in front of me. And you can tell because in that scene, you can see the park across the street along with Scallion Drive. Now the school they attend is right down that way, just about a block away. Man, these were some lazy kids. I'd say about 80% of the movie was filmed here at Saugus High School, including these scenes that were filmed out front. But the problem is, Saugus High has been heavily remodeled since they filmed the movie, so a lot of stuff that we see either doesn't look the same or it's just not here anymore. Well, let's head inside and see if we can match some stuff up. Now this is so cool. This is the stage area where the kids hang out in between classes and they listen to music and post messages up on the wall right there. Now the stage was a bit higher in the movie, but I think that's because this is all new concrete from when they remodeled the school, and you can tell that it's kind of sloping upward, so I think that's what makes the stage look lower than it was. Right there on the corner of the stage, that's where Donald hangs out and sells his bootleg copies of Harry's show. And then he gets approached by Joey, who's played by Seth Green, and he asks if he can help him get into the school's PA. Also right here on the corner of the stage, we see Mark step up and walk over to the wall, trying to build up enough courage to go over and talk to Paige. This is also the area where Maz walks up on the stage and tries to post something on the wall, and then the teacher gets a little rough with him and ends up hitting him. This is the area that you see in the background behind Maz, and it's almost unrecognizable. Again, behind Crestwood, that's the courtyard that you see, and it's just changed so much. Mark and Nora would have been standing somewhere right here in the courtyard, but again, it looks so different, but you can see right up there, Building H, that can be seen behind them. And they would have been standing up here looking down at the stage. Now again, this looks so different. This was just flat grass, but pretty much right here, this is where Mark is walking away. So as you can see, this entire area is different as well, but somewhere right here in front of me is where Mark and Nora were standing and arguing. And then somewhere right over here, that's where that girl was standing and just staring at the camera. Now again, this area looks a bit different, but right here is where Mark would have been walking down the path, and right over here is where Nora's locker would have been. And the way that we can really tell that this is the right spot is behind Mark, you can see building H. And if we look right over here to the left, here's building H. So that means Nora's locker would have been right over here on the right. As the camera continues to turn, it pans to the left and we get a shot looking down this way. And this also looks a lot different. There's now a ramp and a lot of bushes, and yeah, it just looks completely different. But those mountains still match up along with the roof line on building H. All right, so now let's head out to the field. Now, first of all, this building right here on my left, this is building X, and this was not here at the time. It was built in, I believe, 2007. Now, towards the beginning of the movie, when they're sitting in the field listening to the radio show, that took place directly in front of me at the far end of this field, and you can see the mountain and that pipe in the background behind them. Now, later in the movie, when they're sitting in the field and they're parked in front of that large building with the HHH on it, they're pretty much parked right where I'm standing right now. Where building X now is, that's where all the cars are parked, and that large building with the HHH, that's now blocked by building X. All right, so I came on the other side to try and explain this a little better. Directly in front of me in the dirt, that's where they're parked earlier in the movie. Now this right here is building X, and all throughout the rest of the movie, they're pretty much parked right where building X is, and that large building with the HHH, that's on the other side of building X and can no longer be seen. But if we come over to the other side, we can now see that building, and as you can see, even though it's the opposite side of the building, it still looks just like what we see in the movie. Just imagine where that GUS is, imagine that with an HHH. So during the end of the movie, Mark would have been sitting in the Jeep with Nora right up there on top of the hill next to that water pipe, and that's when the helicopter hovers over them and shines the light on them. And somehow they drive the Jeep down the hill and then out here onto the field. And again, over there where building X is, that's where all the kids are hanging out. And Nora drives the Jeep through the field and ends up stopping right over there by building X, and that's where they come over and arrest Mark and Nora. We see Mark walking through this intersection, crossing the street, heading to check his P.O. box. And once he gets into the parking lot, he stops for a second to put on his sunglasses, and we see this sign right behind him for Haskell Canyon Road. He heads into Postal Center USA, and that was located right here in front of us. Now notice that sign to the left for the chiropractor. This is pretty cool. That's the exact same chiropractor sign that we see in the movie. It's just a bit faded now. Now, I'm not sure what this building is used for now. I think it's just part of the restaurant that's just to the right of it. But those are the same doors that Mark would have walked through to go into Postal Center USA. Pretty cool. As Mark comes out of the Postal Center, he's reading Nora's letter, and she's hiding behind this pillar waiting for him. They move past a bunch of businesses, including a video store, and I believe that was located right here. Now later in the movie, there's a very quick scene where we see a couple of students inside of a video store listening to Mark's show on a radio. I'm gonna assume that was filmed inside of this same video store. After Nora tells Mark that she's the one that's been sending him the letters, they turn and they head down this hallway. She tries to stop Mark and reason with him, but he just pushes past her and says he has to go, and he runs off down the hall, making a left into that alley. Inside of the same shopping center is this pizza place. Now there's another really quick scene in the movie where we see a couple of kids come out of a pizza place called Double Deal Pizza, and they dance right in front. And in the window, you can see the reflection of the sign for the shopping center. And if we turn around, you can see right here is the sign for this shopping center. Obviously not the same sign because it's much shorter, but it is in the right location. So they might have just got a new sign. So I can't say for sure, but I have a feeling that this was Double Deal Pizza. So I'm pretty proud that I found this next location, and that's because there's almost zero clues in the movie as to where it is. But this church that you see in front of me, this was the location of the Paradise Hills mortuary where they have Malcolm Kaiser's funeral. Right here in front of me, Shep Shepherd would have been standing here reporting on the funeral.
This is Shep Shepherd reporting live from Paradise Hills, Arizona.
And right over there in the grass would have been the Paradise Hills mortuary sign. And that's pretty much all you see in that scene. You see the Paradise Hills mortuary sign with those windows behind it, and then Shep Shepherd standing in front of this entryway. And the way that I found this location is I studied that scene so many times, and we were driving through Saugus right now, and we just happened to drive by this building, and I instantly recognized it. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and give myself a gold star on this one. I can't believe I found this location. I'm pretty happy about it. When the cops think that they've traced Mark's phone call, we see a police car driving through this intersection on its way to what they believe is Mark's house. A few moments later, we see another cop car come off of Kevin Place and join the first car. Now this neighborhood looks a lot different. That's because at the time of filming, it had pretty much just been built and it really wasn't developed yet. But we see the two police cars turn off of that street and then they pull into this house thinking that it belongs to Mark. But of course, this is Mark's neighbor's house. The cops walk down the side of the house right there, and that's where they find the tool shed that has the cordless phone transmitter in it.
There's the transmitter, which means the receiver could be in any house within 1,000 yards of here.
Really? Because I seem to remember my phone calls turning to 100% static even if I went in the next room. Mark watches from his backyard as the police leave and his neighbors go back inside their house. Now, if this was Mark's neighbor's house, that would mean technically that this was Mark's house. But since we never really actually see the outside of Mark's house, we only see him and Nora hanging out in the backyard, there's no way to really know where that was filmed. However, right next door to the house that was used for Mark's neighbors, there is this little cliff area that totally could have been used for the spot where Nora's listening to music in what's supposed to be Mark's backyard. I mean, it's all developed now, but again, at the time, it definitely could have looked like what we see in the movie. Directly across the street from the school, this is the area that I believe was used for Nora's backyard. Mark's mom's Jeep would have been parked right there, and Mark and Nora hop over the wall and get into the Jeep. And if you look closely, this brick wall completely matches up. The design of the wall, the style of the bricks, everything matches up. And then when they're pulling out of this area onto the bridge, you can see the school gate across the street. They pull out and make a left onto the bridge and then take off that way. We then see them making a left off of Kevin Place onto Grove Park, the same area that was used earlier in the movie. This is also the same area where a bit later we see the FCC trucks going in circles trying to figure out where Mark's broadcasting from. And it's also the same area where we see the FCC trucks a few moments after that, and for some reason they can't see that Mark's Jeep is right there next to him. Somehow I almost forgot to mention that sweet blue Suzuki Samurai that we see parked out on the field, and also that awesome red Nissan 720 King Cab with the bed full of speakers. Alright, well that's going to do it for this video. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Talk hard!